The clock is ticking. Tonight we have a more perfect, or could not have a more perfect person to talk to. Congressman Jason Smith, Republican from my home state of Missouri, chair of the powerful House Ways and Means Committee, most powerful committee in Congress. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Welcome back. What's more important, passing it by July 4th or the nitty-gritty of what's actually in it?
What's most important is to make sure that what we put on the president's desk is right and the best policies that deliver for working families, small businesses, and farmers, and to deliver on the campaign promises that President Trump had. I believe we're going to still get there by July 4th, but we're going to make sure it's right when we do get there.
How bare knuckles are we expecting the president, or do you expect the president to get on quite a few holdouts? Tom Massie, Andy Harris, Ralph Northam, Chip Roy, Marjorie Taylor Greene said she's a no today, Rand Paul, Ron Johnson, Susan Collins, Josh Hawley, your senator from Missouri, Lisa Murkowski, Alaska, Jeffrey Moran of Kansas. If half of those people hold to their guns, this thing doesn't work.
This has definitely been the process throughout the last 6 months, whether it was the budget resolution or getting the 215 votes out of the House. We passed it 215 to 214 the first time, just about 5 weeks ago today, in fact. We'll be able to do it. There's no greater
So how bare knuckles does President Trump have to get?
Hopefully he doesn't have to get too involved, but the president's the most involved executive I've ever worked with. I've worked with several different presidents, several different governors. He is definitely the most involved, most engaging, and he's going to make sure that this package does make it on his desk.
To that point, you say he's the most involved. Has Republicans in Congress given up legislating and changing and basically just view themselves as street fighters in Donald Trump's gang, mission, army, whatever, to get his policies enacted?
We view ourselves as a partnership with the president to deliver for the people who sent us to Washington, the 77 million people that sent him to Washington and also sent to House and Senate Republican majority. It just so happens we're all fighting and pushing for the same thing. We're all on the same page, which is a good place to be. There will be disagreements along the way. There always is. It's just the natural process of legislating.
How high are the stakes? If failure is not an option, as you say, if it fails, how high are the stakes?
It would be devastating to our economy. Americans would face the largest tax increase in the history of America. On average,
so you're not saying it's make or break for Trump. You're saying it's make or break for America.
For the economy, because that would send our economy into a recession faster than you can imagine. We've already faced a 20+% inflation increase over the last 4 years. The last thing they need is a 22% tax increase. People have been struggling. They need to make sure they have certainty in the tax code, and we're going to get certainty also in trade policy down the road.
So that would be, obviously horrible for Trump if this didn't pass.
It'd be horrible for Americans. It's not about
for the president, or
what's that?
If it'd be horrible for America, then it's horrible for Republicans because you guys control the House, the Senate, and the White House, and horrible for the president who's leader of the party, right?
The biggest direction is that it would be horrible for all Americans, regardless if they're Republican or Democrat. That's why we cannot fail. This bill provides permanency of all the expiring provisions of the successful 2017 tax cuts, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, tax relief for seniors. It will only create a stronger, better economy that's focused on made in America products.
All right. So views on Trump's one big, beautiful bill. Pew Research, 49% oppose, only 29% support. KFF, 64% opposed, 35% support. Fox News, 59% opposed, 38% support. Washington Post, 42% opposed, 23% support. What is the disconnect here?
So those poll numbers that you just get are not the poll numbers that I have in my congressional district in Missouri, let alone...
You have one of the reddest congressional districts that exists.
It is one of the most reddest, and so we're delivering on the priorities of the people who sent us to Washington. These are real reforms for working class families. We're increasing the child tax credit. We're increasing the standard deduction. We're providing no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. These are things that affect real working class Americans. We're making sure that every tax rate does not go up. This is popular. Every poll is determined by how it's asked and the nature
true.
of it. So all I can say is when I'm traveling this country, and we've traveled all over, they're in support of this.
All
this
right.
is a very popular piece of legislation.
One of the people who is opposed to this legislation as it stands now or has questions about it, Josh Hawley, firebrand Republican, your senator from Missouri, someone who I have known for a while, and he's opposed because of possible cuts to Medicaid. This from Adam Gaffey and David Hamelstein and Steffi Woolhander. The number of Americans who have a personal doctor would drop by 700,000 under Medicaid work requirements. 285,000 fewer people would get their cholesterol checked. 235,000 patients would never have their blood sugar tested. The number of women getting recommended mammograms within the past 12 months would drop by 139,000. An additional 385,000 people would have to borrow money or skip paying other bills to afford medical care. Before you tell me no one's going to get cut from Medicaid, if no one's going to get cut from Medicaid, why is Josh Hawley so worried about it?
So Josh Hawley supports the bill that was passed out of the House of Representatives, the bill that I helped draft that sent over. He has said numerous times in the last week, I don't know why the Senate just does not take the House bill. So he's happy with what we did in the House. What we did in the House when we focused on Medicaid reforms, it was strictly focused on waste, fraud, and abuse. Of course, it's now went a little bit farther in the United States Senate. What I have been telling my counterparts in the United States Senate, you have to use balance. You have to use balance whenever you're looking at Medicaid reforms. You have to use balance when you're looking at the state and local tax. You have to use balance when you're looking at any kind of spending cuts or the IRA green credits. Balance is what we had to do to thread the needle over in the House. I am thankful that my senator was very proud of what we did in the House, and hopefully they'll make those changes.
Comes back. Okay. This was President Trump today selling, I think would be a fair assessment or characterization, the big, beautiful bill. Take a listen.
And we will deliver no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but no taxes on Social Security isn't in the bill, right?
Tax relief for seniors is on there, which is equivalent to all the taxes that someone pays on Social Security. We're increasing the standard deduction for anyone who's 65 or older up to $8,000 is what's in the bill. That comes to the point that if you make less than $100,000 per person, you'd pay zero in taxes on Social Security.
Okay, so you make less than $100,000, meaning that no one gets $100,000 in Social Security. Therefore, it's effectively zero tax.
It would be zero tax on Social Security.
All right. What are you worried about for the next 8 days?
Making sure that we are keeping balance in the Senate.
What does that mean? What's balance mean? What do you
Balance is making sure that we don't lose the votes, whether it's on the left or the right. We have to...
Left or right of the Republican Party? You're not getting any Democrats.
Left and right of the issues within the Republicans, because no Democrat will support it. Not one Democrat voted for the bill when we passed it out of the House. They all voted for the largest tax increase in the history of America. We're trying to prevent that from happening, and that's what we're going to do. But in the next 8 days, the most important thing is that we keep that balance so that hopefully the product that comes out of the Senate, that we'll be able to pick it up and pass it in the House. As it stands today, that product is not there. There has to be balance. And
so something has to happen in the next 8 days is what you're saying.
Absolutely. And I have been working with my counterparts over in the United States Senate, letting them see where the red flags are over on our side of the building, because it's a very delicate task ahead. We barely did it in the House. People never thought we could.
Fair enough.
And the Senate needs to show us a product.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Good to see you as always.
Good to see you.
Appreciate it very much. Representative, Congressman, Chairman Jason Smith with us.